we're doing. It is a balmy 42 degrees Fahrenheit out, but yesterday's ride wasn't really a good one. I sat there in some traffic and rain and it wasn't very good. So we're going to go for a quick ride. And despite the fact that I'm going to freeze my dick off, I'm willing to do that for you, for my people. What do you mean, you people? Well, my viewers. So we're going to go take it for a little spin. We're in sport mode. Gonna leave traction control on because, well, tires are cold, the road's cold. I'm not gonna have a ton of grip. I don't want to get out on some straightaways, and I'm gonna goose it and kind of see the acceleration and see how it feels. Feels good. All right, maybe later I'll turn the traction control off and see how well it power wheelies in second. So we got our final tune. Now, since the dyno tune yesterday, I noticed a little hole in one of the ignition tables, so I just filled that in. I must have missed it when we were doing the tune on the dyno. It's not going to affect anything as far as, you know, the fueling and stuff goes. I like people who can't turn in their own fucking lane. It's like if you have a car that big and you can't negotiate a turn, maybe that car is too big for you. Alright, turn. Okay, the bike has never done that. That was a violent power wheelie in second gear with the traction control on. Oh shit, I just goosed it at like 5,000 RPMs, which is where that lean spot was, right? When we looked at the charts from Kent's dyno, that's where it was like stupid lean. And we're like, I don't feel a dip in the power, but we feel like maybe there should be more power there. Yeah, if I had not had traction control on, I would have been at like that. I would have been up at like, ah, that's retarded. Sweet. Oh, let me close the vents on my helmet. I'm like, why is it so chilly in here? Alright, those are all closed. Can't get to the other vent because it's behind the camera. But, holy crap. Alright, the bike has never done that. That was third. Now, talking about the next mods I'm going to get for this bike. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a steering damper. Oh, I'm going to get a quick shifter. I will be getting those, but the next thing I'm getting is the Triumph Accessories heated effing grips. They're cheap. They're like $300 shipped. And they're plug and play. Unlike the Ducati, it doesn't replace the whole switch assembly, just the throttle tube. So you take those screws out, another two screws, this off, and you just take off this plastic piece out of the housing, and then the new one pops in. The wires are all connected. There's a hole. It's already drilled right there on the bottom side where my finger is. Wires come out, bundle it into there, and it plugs in right under here. And then the same on this side. This one just slides off, new one slides in. There's a hole for the wires. You just plug it in and go. Unlike the Ducati that has to be initialized because you're replacing the whole throttle assembly. I'm going to do second gear again. So I was riding along like this and just... Oh, that just rode out a really nice second gear wheelie. No, I was only a foot or so off the ground. It wasn't like a crazy, stand-up wheelie or nothing. This bike has never done that. So whatever we did with the ignition, final adjustments, and then getting the power dialed in, wow. Bonnevilles are not normally wheelie bikes. First gear, I would loop it. If I turned off traction and just buried it in first, you would loop it. It now has enough power to do that. Second gear, that was with traction control cutting in, and we rode that out a little bit. I just kept it, mostly pinned, just to see how far up it would come, and it let it hold there for about a foot off the ground for 25 yards, and then just put it down. But if I turned off the traction, I bet you I could loop this. And that's not clutching it, that's not bouncing it, that's just, I was rolling along at a steady state. I'm in third now, so it won't do it. But I was rolling along at like 4,500 and just went. So it doesn't have the power to do it in third, maybe unless I was going over a hill. But first gear, it's violent. Second gear came up twice. I thought maybe it was a fluke. Maybe I hit a bump in the road and gave it a little help. So I figured, let me just try it again. And that just comes right up on its own. No clutch, no bouncing, no loading the front, nothing like that. Just gas it in second. So the tune is helping. The colder weather is probably, actually, it's probably a little bit of a factor. Air's a little more dense. It's in the low 40s right now. And man, am I feeling that on my neck. I should have put my damn neck thingy on. Try to scrunch my shoulders up, push my neck down into my shoulders. But, wow. That is impressive. So I need to get on some little straightaways where we can do a little playing. Come on, little Cooper. Little green S. Oh, that's a convertible. My wife had a green one like that. Not a convertible, though. Yeah, second gear and just... Yeah, traction caught it that time. It just wants to come right up, man. It would first gear power wheelie, although stock, it was like you had to kind of try to get it. And then the tuning made it to where it was pretty easy to wheelie in first, just giving it gas. But honestly, in second, it's always been like, I see the traction control light coming on and it's barely lifting the front. It's just like, you had to be going over like a little bit of a rise. It's never full out pulled a frickin' wheelie in second until today. So that is awesome. I don't know what they're building there. So cold tires, I am not hitting these twisty roads hard. I mean, these are good tires in the cold, better than sport bike tires, but I don't trust. If I've been riding hard for an hour or something, I knew I had heat in the tires, but nope. That's okay. This is not about the handling. Now that I've got the suspension dialed in, you know, if I get a day that's in the 60s, I just don't know, going into winter here, we get to ride year round, but it's not going to be like, I'm not going to have like a 75, 80 degree sunny day up in the mountains again, unless there's like a fluke day for me to go up and know that I've got good grip. The pavement's hot. Figure on an 80 degree day, the pavement might be closer to 95 or 100 if it's been sitting in the sun all day. And if you've been riding for, you know, it takes me an hour to get up there, so my tires are good and hot. I'll ride it hard then, but in the wintertime, we back it down. Just not worth it. You go in thinking, oh, I've been riding for a while, I got heat in the tires, and you just don't. And all of a sudden you're like, why am I in a ditch? But I'm not feeling any lean surging. The motor sounds healthy. The torque is just instantaneous. Yeah, as far as performance, I'm not doing anything else. I mean, I'll throw in like a washable air filter, but it's going to be just for convenience of replacing and washing it and stuff, which reminds me I need to do that on my car. But yeah, man, the suspension feels awesome. Well, granted, I'm not really, you know, I'm not railing on it. Yeah, the upper revs, I can tell there's a slightly different exhaust note. It's weird, but getting the fuel sorted up there and fattening up the mixture has made it sound better. And it's certainly pulling harder. I mean, as evidenced by the front wheel keeps coming up. That's something that's not placebo, you know? If it didn't wheelie before, and now it is, and it's actually wheeling like hard in second, that ain't placebo. That is physics at work. So that guy blew through the stop sign and just turned right in front of us. Jerk off. Yeah, now with that kind of power, man, I cannot wait to get a quick shifter. Yeah, I leaned forward to help keep the front end down on that. But it was still picking the front end up. Ah, this is awesome. You know, it ran well enough before where it wasn't like, oh, you feel like there's a problem. But my OCD with tuning is like, I need to know that it's doing all that it can. And it's not about the number necessarily. I mean, it's great that we got 103, 104 horsepower at the wheel out of a bike that's only rated for 100 at the crank. So after you subtract your 15% drivetrain losses, I mean, that bike should have been down around low 90s. Triumph does underrate them a little bit because stock bikes are pulling 93, 94 at the wheel. But we picked up 10 horsepower. 10 horsepower on a Busa, not all that big of a difference. But going from 93 to 103, 104, that's over a 10% increase. Like 11, 12% increase. That's a big jump in power. What do we have to do to get that? Remove the intake snorkel, pulled the DB killers out of the stock mufflers with 2 volts. Thank you for the US market having those. And then there was the $400 or whatever it was for the British Customs mid-pipe, the DCAT X-pipe. And then it was, $300 in dyno time. We were over there again on the dyno for, I don't know, 4 hours, 4.5 hours. So very reasonable price. But you add all that up, as far as not including the suspension, but just as far as mods for horsepower and performance, what are we talking? 300, 700, I don't know, $800, $850? Like, we're not talking about that much. The muffler was a free mod because they don't have cats in them, and you just take a T30 bit, Torx, T30, and just bust that little weld on the nut, unscrew it, and the DB killers, the restrictors come right out. At that point, you got Vance & Hines cans. I mean, they're straight through, it's got the perforated metal in the baffle with the winding around it, fiberglass or steel wool or whatever, but there's absolutely no restrictions. It's straight through, which is what you buy when you buy an aftermarket exhaust. You buy an aftermarket exhaust, so it's a straight through, unimpeded flow. Well, I have that. Didn't cost me a dime. Maybe it would cost you $8 if you had to go buy the, whatchamacallit, T30 bit. So that was cheap. And as much as it's a pain in the ass, the other thing, getting the DCAT in there, the X-pipe was. In the end, it was worth it. It freed up weight, the engine runs cooler, performance, got better flow, we then tuned it. Ugh, these fucking jerk-offs blowing the shit in the street. What assholes. I hate when people do that shit. Blow it into a pile and either burn it, because you can in Georgia, or put it in a bag. You just blow it in the road so that motorists have to drive through it. Then when it rains and it gets wet, makes it sketchy for cars, but really dangerous on two-wheeled vehicles. That is illegal in Georgia. I don't know why they're doing that. Well, I know why, but... Alright. Serenity now. Serenity now. Yeah, my nose is starting to run. It is cold. So what's the wind chill factor? When it's 42 out, I'm guessing it's got to be like 28. My fingers are starting to cramp a little. Granted, I'm wearing summer shorty gloves. I do have my Under Armour on, so actually my core and my legs are actually fine. It's cool, but it's not cold. If I'd put the thing on my neck, that would make the difference. My hands are a bit cold, but tolerable. And that's for me growing up north. You get 5 months of snow and stuff. So you're out playing in snow, throwing snowballs, building snowmen, building snow forts, riding snowmobiles. So you get used to that. But that cold Arctic air blowing on my neck, that is somewhat unpleasant. So we're going to make a right. We're going to head down and we'll get some straightaways where I can kind of goose it and play a little bit and just see some acceleration. Hopefully we'll get a red light. When I'm trying to get somewhere in a hurry, I get nothing but red lights. When I'm like in the car and I see another car that I want to race, I never get a goddamn red light. It's like every green light. It's whatever I want, I will get the opposite. Alright, second gear, 4,500. I'm not loading the suspension. We're just cruising along. Yeah. That is so awesome. I know there's probably guys that are like, I do stunting and wheelies all the time and your wheelies suck. I'm not trying to be a wheelie guy. I'm really not. I'm actually not much of a big believer in wheelies. Like doing, it's fun if it just does it a little bit here and there. But like, I don't know. When you're accelerating, it makes you accelerate slower. Because you either have traction control, which will cut in at some point to keep it from, just continuing to rise. Or if you turn it off, I mean, you're going to have to back off the gas at some point or you're going to get too high and loop it. So either way, power's being cut. Oh, damn it, there's a cop, of course. I say nothing ever goes the way you want. It's like, yeah, I'll get the red lights now. There's a police officer right there. Damn it, maybe he's going to turn left, go into that parking. Yay! All right. Brazelton PD. Yeah, now my eyes are watering. There's a problem with it. Even though all the vents closed, when you have a helmet that has really good ventilation to keep you cool in the summer. Yeah, that cop is parked back there. He's going to be radaring or lasering people coming over this hill. I need to wait till I get over the next rise. Oh yeah, went up to about 100 very quickly. I mean, we're rolling start, but still. Yeah, my eyes are watering really bad right now from the cold air blowing into them. I was thinking of riding the bike over. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be sunny. It was like 80 degrees on Monday. It was sunny most of the week and warm. And then it got rainy yesterday and Friday when I was hoping to get the bike. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll ride at Sarah's. My stepdaughter's got her baby shower today. I was like, oh, maybe I'll ride the bike over there, but you know what? It's too freaking cold. I'm enduring this for the video and for the views. But yeah, go home and get out of this stuff, and we're gonna take the Mustang. Good. It's just purring, smooth, it just sounds great. And that throttle, man, is punchy. So we are in sport mode, which has the aggressive throttle map, but I had that before. So is it like, oh my god, this is a different bike from what it was last week? No. But it is noticeable, and that whole wheeling in second gear, I mean, that's undeniable. It absolutely, it takes more horsepower to do that. And it wasn't doing it before. So I know we've got gains there. So I didn't get a dyno printout. I just kind of had the video up yesterday when I was with Charles. Because his dyno reads it so differently than a dyno jet. None of it would line up. The numbers would be like, they'd be like in two different languages. But I am going to make a point of getting up to, when I know it's going to be a Saturday and the weather will be decent, I'm going to get up to GMD CompuTrack. I'm not going to bother with air fuel ratios or any of that crap. Just going to put it on. Just give me a torque. Just do 3 poles. Give me torque and horsepower. Here's $50. And then have him send me the files from the first runs and now these runs after it's been tuned. And then I'll be able to put them, I'll have the software, I have all the dyno jet shit at home. I can go in and pull it up on the big screen and go through the actual data. What's this chowderhead doing? I don't fucking trust people. So I'm expecting we'll see, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 horsepower up top. And we're going to see some in the mid-range for sure. And that'll put it into a dyno jet format. So you'll see the before and after, you'll see the gains, but then you'll also see it in terms, because that's what the manufacturers use. They all tend to use dyno jet. So we want to have an apples to apples comparison of, if you do these mods, hey, DNK tuning, take some goddamn notes here if you want to sell more shit, stop pissing people off. When you know, the few times you actually get a bike on a dyno, I know you don't have a dyno, I know you go to another tuner, and that's fine, whatever. But when you're selling tunes, go show them before and after. There's no reason why. And I understand, well, if I put out a chart, it says 96, and they get 95, they're going to feel ripped off and complain. Anybody who does that is a moron. There's disclaimers in there. These results are typical. Numbers can vary from dyno to dyno, or because between different conditions. If it's 48 degrees and 10% humidity on one day, and then you dyno, and that's the dyno, you run it on that day, and then you run your bike again when it's 92 and 90% humidity, or you're at, she's at 400 feet above sea level, and you're in Denver. Now the correction factor should help normalize that, but it's not going to be exact. If you look at the uncorrected numbers, the temperature changes drastically. My bike right now in this weather is probably making like as much horsepower as it's going to make. Who knows? Maybe it won't wheelie like that in the heat of summer when it's humid. I'm probably going to lose 8 horsepower in the heat of summer. And all bikes do that. That's why you have a correction factor. SAE, STD, whatever you use. Typically everybody uses SAE. Some guys use STD because it gives a higher number, but if you use SAE, it's supposed to correct for the elevation where the dyno's at. It's got a barometer, you put in the elevation. It has, you put in your environmental variables, that kind of stuff. But, I understand her, like, well, but it's like everybody else does it. You're the only one who doesn't, so stop whining. If you're not given dyno charts, there's a reason, and it's not because someone's going to say, well, my number was slightly different. Yeah, bikes are different to different. You can take 5 of these off the assembly line made the same day and put them on the dyno on the same day, and they will all read slightly different horsepower. It's just how it is. There's going to be slightly different tolerances and things like that. I don't know. Maybe this Tesla will take off. But, yeah, there's no reason to do that. Every other tuner puts out the dyno charts. Manufacturers put out dyno charts. The people selling exhaust systems put out dyno charts. K&N puts out dyno charts. So does, who's the other one? DNA, Sprint. They all have that. And they'll have in the red, in the little fine print, these are typical, not exact, blah, blah, blah. They'll make the disclaimers so that the few weenies out there who are just like, but your number's this and my number's that. Again, you're a meathead if you don't understand how this works. So I would like to put it in those charts so that you'll be able to see that. Is that right? If you've got... Not today, Tesla. Now, it did cut power slightly when I hit second, because I don't know if it lifted or the back tire spun up a little bit. But I don't think he's got the S of the fast one, and he probably forgot to put it in ludicrous mode. Alright, we're going to get onto the interstate, and I know I'm going to freeze my nads off. Or should I just call it a day and go home? Alright, just for you folks, because I know you're asking. My schlong is going to be crawling up inside me like a frightened turtle. But I'm doing it. Do it for Johnny. Oh yeah. It's nice. wind off my neck, and keep a lot of the air from blowing up into the helmet, into my eyes, which is what's making me cry right now. I mean, these are tears of joy, but it's also really effing cold. And then, C8, love it. But the heated grips, gonna make a big difference. I missed that from my MTO, or the, what was it, the Tracer. Yeah, it's pulling nice at 6 gear acceleration before it was a bit lackluster in that 5 to 7 range. And we added a lot of fuel up top. You compare the stock map to my map, do the compare in TuneECU, we dumped a lot of fuel up there. But we got that air-fuel ratio bang on. And it's got a lot more consistent pull. I think now I could hit the top speed. I know it's limited. It's going to stop pulling at 133, 134. I didn't bother taking the top speed. We didn't bother unlocking that. I was just like, I'm not going to go with... I don't think the bike could be that stable or fun at that speed. And frankly, it probably still, even with the tuning, I can get there, but it's going to, you know, I need a long freaking straightaway and have to be like laying on the tank. And at the end of the day, this bike's not made for that kind of stuff. This thing's made to go have fun in the twisties, ride it around town, be a little bit of a hooligan. It's not a Speed Twin or a Street Fighter or a Tuono by any means. It's not even an MT-09 in that regard. But it's fast. I'm not going to beat my ZX-14 anytime soon, but I'll tell you, man, on a backcountry road or when up in the mountains where it's really twisty and stuff, this thing with the torque is going to just fly off of turns, and I will give assuming rider skill is comparable, because that probably counts more than anything. But you get some guy up in a twisty mountain road on an R6, and if we're comparable rider skills, I'll hang with him. I'm going to have all this torque, 80, 82, 83, 84, whatever it's at now, foot-pounds of torque, just brap coming off the turns, where he's going to have to keep his bike spinning. And that's the thing with like a 600, unless you gear it down, when you're in those slow 35 mile, 40 mile an hour turns and stuff, on an R6, I mean, you're already in first. You want to keep your RPMs up above 10,000 to make sure you're in the meat of your power band, because they don't really start working until you get over that point. But, for me, it's like, well, I could be at 3,500. Just, it's going to have that torque. I mean, I come out of a turn, I'm going fast here. But I'm in second gear and just launches right off the turn. And R6, if you went through a slow turn like that, where you were down to 20 miles an hour, your RPMs, even if you're in first, unless you're slipping the shit out of the clutch, you're at 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs, maybe. You got no horsepower. You got 28 foot-pounds of torque. And I'll be up over 70. Cylinder, steel braided lines, 310 mil floating rotors with Brembo M50s, monoblocks. This got a phenomenal braking package from the factory. Suspension needed work. So I think now, all in, what I've got in this bike, between the cost of tuning, suspension, all the mods, I'm in for about $3,000 in mods. But unlike people just stapling carbon fiber and all kinds of bling and shit, it's like, what did I do? Well, I put a little windscreen. That was $40, $30 on Amazon. But other than that, what did we do, really? LED headlight. Brighter, better at night. That has a purpose. I made my own tail tidy. Cost me $10. Tuning. The decat pipe. Ohlins suspension, the proper shocks in the back, the K-Tech racing forks up front with the install. All in, I'm at just under $3,000. And that's awesome. All right, 4,500. Get over this bump, gas. Oh yeah, that was up about 2 feet a second. And then the trash control said, come on. slow you roll, cowboy. It has never, ever done that. Ever. Not in second. I could get it to do that in first. I get to just the right RPM. But even in first, sometimes it wouldn't pick up because I was hitting that lean spot at like 5-ish. And it wasn't until I got to 6. And by that time, now I'm getting close. You know, by the time it kind of starts coming up at 6, it doesn't have a lot of revs. So you get up, and now it's at 7, and then, you know, you're getting to the old rev limiter and stuff. Now it's coming up at 5. So you got all those revs, you can kind of ride it out a little bit if you want. I'm also doing that because I want to check my zip tie on the fork, see how much suspension travel I'm using, see if I need to add any more compression, or not compression, preload, sorry. But yeah, man, this thing is a freaking blast. You're just rolling along and... Oh, what a fun little machine, man. So, hey, Sam, if you're watching this, I know you went and test rode the, whatchamacallit bike, the Trident 660. You might want to sit on one of these. It'll sit a little lower. It's the bigger 1200 motor. It's got the brakes, and it's got the ride modes and the traction control and all the fun goodies on it. And it's more the classic style. It's a proper sporty bike to ride it, but you're very upright. It's very much like your current Bonneville. But it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's going to make a good bit more power. It's got all the electronics. It's got better suspension, better brakes, better tires. Got better everything. But if you want to keep it looking like the older style, but it be a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing, this is where it's at, yo. Go get the car washed, and then we're going to have fun with that today. And here we are back at Dave's garage. My name is Dave. This is my garage. Not as clean as it was, because Donna always gets on me. I love my wife, but she always gets on me about, you know, cleaning up the garage and keep it cluttered. And then when I do, I clear up that space back there. And then what does Donna do? She starts filling it with crap. Oh, we have this space. I can put things. Starts piling up trash. That ain't me. That's you, dear. Anyway, that is a much better ride review than playing with it yesterday in the rain and heavy traffic. It is awesome now. That is a proper, legit little sport bike, while still having all the old world charm and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we got. I am freaking freezing. I'm going to go warm up and then get ready to go over to Sarah's for the baby shower. Everybody, enjoy. Have a good day. If you have this bike, 2022, if you have a X-pipe, some type of open mufflers, or you did open headers, you have a full system, and you want to talk about tuning, reach out to me. If you're in all countries, if you're in Australia or New Zealand, any of those, let's talk. If you need help with this, we'll get you sorted. So anyway, everybody, enjoy the rest of your weekend.